Hello, everyone. Welcome to the MeanGene Show here on iHeartRadio. We are getting ready to kick off the NFL divisional rounds of the playoffs. And if it's going to be anything like the Super Wild Card weekend, it's going to be great action, folks. And I am joined by my great friend and partner in crime, Dustin Phifer, joining me from Charlotte, North Carolina. Dustin, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me on again, Gene. Looking forward to talking some football.
Hey man, Dustin and folks, oh my goodness, Dustin, wild card weekend, and we was talking just before we started the podcast here, and it's not fair to wear two hats here. I mean, we do because we're journalists, but we also, we have teams that we like, and I have supported the Pittsburgh Steelers for so long, and to see what happened last Sunday at the hands of the Cleveland Browns, man, I shut down social media, my phone. I just turned my phone on this morning. No, I'm just kidding. But hey, I mean, it was rough, Dustin.
Yeah. That's one of those games where you do have to take a day and just sit back and shake your head, and say what happened, and it just was. It started from the first snap of the game when they snapped it over his head for a touchdown, and you thought, okay, that's one play, they'll come back and recover, but it was just a snowball, and it just kept going downhill. And there was no recovering after that first quarter. And I mean, I'll give the Steelers a little bit of credit because you say there's no recovering, but they're in the middle of the third quarter, late in the third quarter, they had got themselves at a reasonable point of the game where they had a chance. But when you go down 28-0 and you do all that to fight back, it's just hard to get all the way back to tying that game or taking the lead. And that's one that's going to sting for the Steelers for a while. I'm an outside observer there. I'm not a Steelers fan. But I like their organization. I think Tomlin's a good coach. I think there's a little too much running the mouth inside the locker room before the game, and maybe need to concentrate a little more on the game. But that's just how these guys are these days. But yeah, if you go out there and you say something, you got to back it up. And when it starts like that, it's tough to recover. And then, going into it on the 4th and 1 with Tomlin, you had all the momentum. I thought you had to go for it right there. And so to punt the ball, that just kind of gave the momentum back to the Browns, and that's what put the game away.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and there was definitely some questionable, play calling there. 4th and 1 when you're down by that many, it was shocking to see that they didn't go for it. But when you don't have a running game, it sometimes you can understand why. But you know, the start of that game just basically was the telltale on how that game was going to go, and it didn't really get any better after that. But not to take anything away from the Cleveland Browns. I mean, it was a heartbreaking loss for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and but the Cleveland Browns, I mean, a team that just I was at what game 4 up in Pittsburgh early in the season, and that game the Pittsburgh Steelers really shut them down. As a matter of fact, they put Baker Mayfield out the game. But man, that team just improved, and ever since Odell Beckham Jr. got injured, I mean that's just been a really different ball team, and congratulations to the Browns because they really have a good ball team now.
Yeah, you've got to give them a ton of props. I mean, they know their identity. They know how to play. They know they want to run the ball. They want to do some play action passing with Baker Mayfield. Their defense isn't great, but they do have some pass rushers that can get out after the passer. So for that team who hasn't been in the playoffs for whatever the day was and hasn't won a playoff game for whatever the day was, for that team to go into Pittsburgh, even though there's no fans, I know, but with the week that they had with the COVID situation, they didn't practice, I don't think, until Friday or Saturday, so they went a whole week without practicing. They didn't have their head coach for the game. They didn't have their all-pro guard. I don't think people realize when the situations that they're playing in right now with this COVID situation. When you miss that many guys and you don't have your head coach, and I know there's a lot of coaches on the staff, but this is the coach who's came in and has changed the identity of this team and got them playing the way they're playing. So he's a big piece. And when you're missing that and you don't practice all week, and to go against a team like the Steelers, you got to give the Cleveland Browns all the props in the world.
You really do. I mean, and a lot of people, you called it right, Dustin. I mean, not to have communications. Stefanski did not have communication with the team. I mean, so for a backup coach to get in there and get it done on the road, even though there was no fans there, But to put up 48 points on the Pittsburgh Steelers, get it done, have a solid game plan, man, that is huge. And
Yeah.
the Cleveland Browns are a solid team all around. They have a good passing game. They have an outstanding running game, and they have a solid defense. So I mean, I mean, it was a solid win, a credible win, and we'll get into what's going to happen moving forward. But nevertheless, a solid win. I want to,
Yeah, and I did want to ask you one question since you are in depth with that Steelers team. You know them from a reporting situation, you know from a fan situation, and I mentioned it earlier, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on it from your side since you follow them so closely. The stuff with Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, obviously we saw when he danced on the logo in Cincinnati, and then on Monday Night Football, Cincinnati came out and they beat the Steelers, and then this past week before the game, he says the Browns are the same old Browns, and again, it's young guys and they say stuff, but that stuff does matter in other locker rooms. And the Browns are listening to that. And then I even heard after the game that Chase Claypool was, on a video saying, well, the Browns are just going to get destroyed next week. And it's like, it's one thing to have a confidence in a swagger, but when you're almost talking too much and not worried about what you're doing yourself, it can become an issue. And I just wonder what you thought about how they kind of do stuff like that.
well, I tell you what, I think what you heard, as far as that goes, was just frustration. I mean, I think that's, would have been just best if, Tomlin had corralled the team and just, put them on, media silence at that point, because I think Pittsburgh Steelers players, the organization, fans across the world, everybody was in that mode, and I think what you heard there was just frustration. I mean, I think when at the end of the day, you just have to applaud the Cleveland Browns for just coming in there, having a game plan, and just kicking the Steelers' ass. That's basically what happened. I mean, you can't say anything but, hey, they beat us. They beat us fair and square. They were the better team that night, and that was it. I think you can't disrespect them. They are not, your grandfather's Cleveland Browns anymore. That team, I mean, you can make jokes about the Cleveland Browns from 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Uh, it's all about, hey, what happened Sunday night? They are moving forward in the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not moving forward, and I mean that's just it. So and that was just frustration. I
Yeah.
mean, they came in there and just hit the Steelers in the face with a closed fist, and that was it. And that's and I think and Tomlin had said, and I listened to that press conference immediately after the game. It wasn't even the Mike Tomlin that I'm used to hearing after a loss. That loss hurt more than any loss that I've seen in Tomlin's career. At the hand of a team that they have single-handedly owned during his tenure. I mean, it was. I mean, he was short with the media. I mean, there was some questions, some great questions from the media that he should have responded to, and he didn't. And I can tell it stung. It was stinging at the time. And I know that was one press conference that he didn't want to do. If he didn't have to, he wouldn't have done it. So, and I think that spilled over to the players, and I think they're probably in a better place now. A few days later than they were immediately after that game, Dustin.
Yeah, and I agree. And it will be an interesting offseason. I mean, like I said, and like you said before we got on the podcast, you start 11-0. You don't just have playoff expectations; you have Super Bowl expectations. So to lose your first game is definitely something where you need to take a step back and reevaluate your team and what you're doing for next year. And they got a lot of question marks, like you said. They need to find a run game. They need to try to manage Ben better, where he's not throwing 50 times a game, and make sure that he's coming back. I'm pretty sure he's coming back. But he was pretty emotional at the end of that game as well. And then he's got a huge contract. So they've got a lot of decisions to make in this offseason if they want to continue that process of trending upward.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Folks, once again, you are listening to the Mean Gene Show here. I am joined by my co host, Dustin Phifer. Fox Sports Southeast covers the Carolina Panthers, have been a long time host here, guest host, and a friend here of Mean Gene here. I'm so glad to have him here as we get deep here into to the playoffs. I want to go back and look at another game too last week, and that was that Saints and Bears game. Now, I don't know if there was one game that was so predictable, it was probably that game, and the fact that it was a 10-point spread, according to Mr. Picks there, and even though I thought the Bears were in for a very long day, it was a manageable game, and it was one that it looked like the Bears could have won. And I certainly can explain that wide open touchdown pass that was dropped in the end zone. I mean, it could have been a different game had it not been for that, Dustin.
Yeah, that drop's a killer. That's a drop that's gonna haunt that kid for a while. Hopefully, he's a young kid. He can put it behind him and then have better days. But that is one of those game changing plays where your defense has done all they can do to hold down a very good Saints offense to keep you in the game. Offense hasn't done much, and then you finally have a chance to break a big play, and it just goes right through your arm. So that's a game changing play, and you don't get many chances like that when your offense is not great to begin with, and you're playing a good defense like the Saints. So that's a game changing play, and they could just never recover. And I give them credit for hanging in. They battled hard. They held the Saints offense in check for the most part. But it's just the same old story with the Bears. They can't get it done on offense, and whether that's the quarterback, whether that's the coach. And I mean, let's not forget that this Nagy guy, he's supposed to be an offensive guy. So this is what he's supposed to do. So to only get your offense to produce that kind of output, I was a little surprised to see that he was retained for another season by the Bears. I mean, I know they made the playoffs, but they were 500. But we've seen him for a few years now, and I don't think you're really going to see many changes.
I was shocked about that too, and the fact that they made the playoffs by at the hands of someone else. It wasn't like they earned that playoff spot. So I was shocked too, Dustin, on that. And I don't know. I mean, maybe he just got a pass. He got a free pass on that one. I don't know. I think if Foles hadn't got injured and they would have continued to implode, I think he probably would have got fired. But I don't know. Interesting that you brought that up because I was thinking the same thing. And Mitchell Trubisky saved his hide, so to speak, because when they did bring Trubisky back, then they continued to win. So and it's funny too that it's interesting. What you can learn when you are benched and you sit on the bench and you come back and you get a second chance. I mean, we've seen that with a lot of quarterbacks.
No, definitely. And we talked about that in previous shows, and we thought they needed to go back to Trubisky because of his athleticism and because of a weak offensive line. He can move around and try to make some plays. And again, like you said, that's another decision that Nagy made that just didn't really go the right way when he went with Foles. So, they bring him back. They bring the GM back who, no offense to Trubisky, but this GM selected Trubisky over a guy like Deshaun Watson. And so you're like, I know that's just one pick, but you're like, hey, why, you bring this GM and this coach back for another year? I think you're kind of just stalling the inevitable when you could kind of start your team building to the future by making a change now, because as good as Trubisky played down the stretch, he struggled in that playoff game, and I just still don't know if he's your future quarterback guy. And I don't think they know that either. So I think it would have been better off probably making a coaching change, and going a different direction in QB and just trying to build this thing over with. But maybe that's not what they want to do. They got a good defense. They got Khalil Mack. They got some defensive weapons. So maybe they want to try to patch this thing together and make another run with an 8-8 or 9-7 record. But like you said, they're kind of backing their way into stuff. So it's only the inevitable to me that the coach will probably be gone after the season.
I would agree. I would agree with you on that one. And looking at one of the other games too from Super Wild Card Weekend, the Baltimore Ravens. Now here's a team we're going to talk about a little bit later here. And what I've said here, we did a show last week. The Baltimore Ravens seems to be on a revenge tour, and this was one of the bigger games I think last week. Just trying to see exactly what this game was going to be like in the rematch between the Baltimore Ravens and the Tennessee Titans. And what I saw was, all eyes was on Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and it seemed like it was, never did I think Lamar Jackson would have more rushing yards than Derrick Henry, but that's the way it ended up. And somehow, and I don't know if the Baltimore Ravens took a page from or looked at the game film from when the Steelers basically held Derrick Henry to under 100 yards, but they found the answer and pretty much contained him. and went to Nashville and knocked off the Titans in quick fashion.
Yeah, they really did, and that makes if that defense is playing like that, they're shutting down a guy like Derrick Henry like that. That makes them dangerous. And I got to be honest with you. I knew this was a pick'em game. I leaned towards the Titans. I picked the Titans in a close one, just because I thought they could kind of do what they did last year to the Ravens. And if you looked at that first quarter, I thought that was the direction they're heading. When the Titans got up 10-0, you're thinking, well, Baltimore is definitely not a team that can come from behind. Can Lamar Jackson throw it enough to come from behind? So that was not looking good for them, but give them all the props in the world. The one thing I give them a huge prop on is that they didn't get away from being themselves even down 10-0. A lot of teams get down 10-0.
Yeah.
They'll panic. They won't stick to their game plan, but their coaching staff stuck to their game plan. They knew that it couldn't just be Lamar throwing every time. They still had to run him. Mm-hmm. They still had to grind it out. And then look what happens. Lamar breaks one for a touchdown, and all of a sudden the game changes. And so give them a lot of props. Give Lamar a lot of props for getting his first playoff win. And you're right, Gene. This is kind of a revenge tour, and that kind of win, where you come from behind and kind of silence the doubters of can Lamar win a playoff game and things like that. That's the kind of win that can propel you on some kind of run. So we'll talk about it later. But if I was the Bills, I mean that's going to be an interesting game come Sunday.
Yeah.
You know the Ravens are going to be riding high.
I know it. And speaking of the Bills, looking at that game against the Colts last week. Now, I don't know, and I don't want to be throwing out that F word meaning fix, but it seemed to me that the Indianapolis Colts had so many chances to win that game. And especially in the late minutes of that game, Dustin, I don't know what. Phillip Rivers is a veteran quarterback. I know he knows the game better than anybody. And to not get your kicker on the field to give him a chance to tie that game, what happened, Dustin, in that game?
Yeah, that was a weird one. That game, like you said, that game was just weird throughout. And the Bills did enough what they needed to do to get a win, but it didn't seem like they played their best.
No.
The Colts had their moments where they looked like they were going to win, but then they tried to hand it back. So it's like both teams really didn't want to just take hold of the game and win
right.
it. And like you said, I've been one of the ones that hadn't believed in the Colts all year, and they kept proving me wrong. And here I am sitting here watching this game, thinking, man, the Colts are going to do this again. And I don't know what happened at the end. I don't know if they just panicked or what they did, but like you said, to have somebody with that much experience at the quarterback position and still not be able to get you in the right position like
yes.
that's just something you don't see often. And again, that's one of those losses that they're going to think about for a while, especially a guy like Phillip Rivers, because who even knows if he comes back with the Colts. And that could have been really one of his last chances to get that playoff win and maybe make a little run. So, props to the Bills for getting that win at home, but they're going to have to play a lot better if they're going to do something against the Ravens this weekend.
Exactly. I agree with that. And then we, had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington football team. I mean, that game was probably a little bit more interesting than the Buccaneers wanted it to be. We kind of knew what the outcome would be, but it was an interesting game to watch. And, everyone knew that the Buccaneers would pull it out, but I think everyone's looking forward to the Buccaneers and the Saints, Dustin.
Yeah, we kind of knew that's what was going to happen, but me being a guy here in Charlotte, I'll give a couple of shout-outs, a big shout-out to Ron Rivera. I mean, just what he did this season with what he was going through his first year as a head coach with that team, and then having to deal with cancer while he's coaching. Even though his team had a losing record, to get them to win the division and to play together with the quarterback issues they had with Haskins, with a guy like Alex Smith who didn't even know if he played football anymore. I give him a lot of credit for how he handled his team this year. And even though they didn't win on Saturday night, that's the kind of game and the kind of team that Rivera has. They play hard, they keep it close, they're always going to fight till the end. And they hung in there for a while. And a shout out to Taylor Heineke, who was a backup here at Carolina for just a little bit. He got a chance in a spotlight to go out there and play, and he I got to be honest with you, he performed. And not necessarily saying he's a starter in this league, but that's the kind of performance that you have when your number is called on that's going to keep you a job in the NFL for a long time, whether it's a starter or a backup. So I give a lot of props to Rivera and his team. It just was too much talent on the other side, and we knew that I don't know how this happened, Gene, but Brady, he played the AFC East for so long, which was kind of a weaker division. Then he comes over to the NFC, and he gets to play the NFC Leaf team for the division title. So he seems to get the nice little matchups that he likes when it comes playoff time.
Interesting how it works out, huh? It's just amazing. Just hey, when you got it like that, you got it like that. So, and then I think the Pittsburgh Steelers Cleveland Brown game was certainly a wow. But the other wow game was the Rams and the Seahawks, which and this is one of those reasons why in the playoffs you don't want to play a division rival in the playoffs. I mean, you hear it all the time because crazy things can happen, and you're going to hear it again here in a little bit when we cover the weekend's divisional games. But Seattle, who, spectacular season, did great things. But anytime Seattle plays, whether it's the 49ers, the Cardinals, or the Rams, sometimes you just don't know what Seattle team is going to show up. And the wrong Seattle team showed up last week, and they lost to the Rams, Dustin.
Man, I got to be honest. This is probably the game that shocked me the most this weekend. I know, like you said, it's a division rival, but I saw that spread, and it was Seahawks -3, and I thought that's really low for the Seahawks at home, for the Rams who don't know who really their quarterback is. I mean, I think the Seahawks are going to roll this game, and obviously that doesn't happen. So. I mean, it was just a weird game, and the Seahawks couldn't get anything going. You have Jared Goff who doesn't start, so you think he's hurt. Then Wolford gets hurt, and you have to bring in Goff. So, I give Goff credit for coming in and battling through that thumb injury to get his team a win. But, man, I'll tell you what, the takeaway from that game is the Rams' defense. And when you have a guy like Aaron Donald up front, who we all know is probably the best defensive player in football, one of the best players in football, and then you have a guy on the back end like Jalen Ramsey, who's the best cornerback in football, that is a dangerous combination, and that'll give you a chance in the playoffs to beat anybody. And so, I knew that, but I still thought being at home and Russell Wilson, they would have enough. But man, give the Rams credit, and I'll tell you what, if you're a Packers fan, you got to be loving what you're seeing from your team with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and being at home field advantage.
Oh yeah.
So when you have a defense like that can come in and stop some stuff, you got to be a little nervous going into this weekend.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into this weekend. I mean, here we go. We have the divisional rounds, and Saturday you got two games there, and the first one will be the LA Rams at the Green Bay Packers. And what's so unique about this year, Dustin, is the fact that you only have two teams, one from the AFC, one from the NFC, that will have that bye. Unlike previous years where you've had two teams in each conference. So it kind of makes it tough now because usually you always catch a couple of teams falling asleep with that bye. I don't know, Dustin, if you're going to catch Kansas City or Green Bay falling asleep now, but I mean it could happen now because you're getting the Rams in town, and you're going to get oh my goodness,
the Browns.
The Browns. I'm sorry. I'm trying to forget about the Browns, but no, I actually had a brain cramp there. But anyway, so you're getting these, and these teams are hot, So, but oh my goodness, man, we got. Let's just put it out there. Let's just give a little history here. So you got the Rams clinch playoff berth for the second time in the past 3 seasons, and then you got the Packers clinch the second consecutive NFC North Division title under Matt LaFleur. Let's make that clear. But what you have here, and what I've seen with the Green Bay Packers, the Packers, it's like we waited for them to kind of like hit the bottom, and it hasn't happened. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been so consistent for the entire season. Now we've seen ups and downs with the Rams, and more, lately we've seen a lot of ups and downs. Like I said, we did not expect Wolford to go in there and lead the team halfway, and then Goff come in there and finish the deal against Seattle. But I think it's just going to be a lot tougher, though. I mean, and then you got this weather element. I mean, anytime Green Bay is in the playoffs, in January and they have a home game. You know the cliche: who wants to play in Green Bay in January? Not a West Coast team, right?
No, absolutely not. And just a couple of essentials on this game. I mean, I know Mr. Picks likes the lines as well. I believe the line is the Packers are 6.5 point favorite.
Yep.
I believe that it is a 50% chance of snow as the game's going on. So the thing you talk about with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, you kind of mentioned the Ravens on a revenge tour. I think he's on a revenge tour.
Yeah.
They got beat down in the playoffs last year by the 49ers. Then his team, instead of using, and this, I can't even say this with a straight face without getting mad about it, and it's not even my team, Gene. His team uses a first round pick to go out and draft a quarterback when they have a guy named Aaron Rodgers on the roster instead of getting a receiver or somebody to help him out.
Right.
And I think he just was tired of hearing it. He was tired of hearing how him and LaFleur couldn't get along together because it was Aaron's team and this and that. And he has just came out. I think he's the MVP of the league this year. I know it's close between him and Mahomes, but I would vote for Aaron Rodgers. Because, like you said, he's been consistent all the way throughout.
All the way.
And they just don't look like they're slowing down. And Devontae Adams has just had a record-breaking year as far as receivers go. So it is going to be a very interesting matchup. Looks like Aaron Donald said he's healthy and ready to go. Jared Goff has been officially named that he will start. Wolford's out, so it is Goff's game for the full game this time. But with a thumb injury, watch out for that. Like you said, that cold weather and snow is not going to be good for that thumb. And for me, the matchup I cannot wait to watch is Jalen Ramsey and Devontae Adams, because that is just going to be just something I want to watch every play, because those two guys are so good, probably best at the position of what they do. And it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm still going to take the Packers. When you have them at home in that cold weather with the West Coast team coming in, you have Aaron Rodgers trying to prove a point. And the thing is, I think the defense for the Rams could give the Packers some issues early. But the thing is, Rodgers is going to find a way to make some adjustments and score some points. And I don't think Goff is going to be able to answer and score enough points to keep up with the Packers.
Well, I tell you, when you look at the numbers, you look at the players, don't forget about the running game that suddenly appeared for the Packers. With Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones had some big numbers, some games that he at times he looked like a Derrick Henry. He had some big games this year. And of course, you mentioned Devontae Adams, and how about the tight end Robert Tonyan, who Aaron Rodgers likes to go to. So, and then of course the linebacker, the defense for Green Bay, which in previous years Green Bay just hasn't been known for that defense, but they have certainly turned things up with Darnell Savage and Zadarius Smith. I think. They're not. Maybe the defense on the side of the Rams look a little bit more sexier, but don't count out these Packers as well. And Aaron Rodgers with his 48 touchdown passes, man. These guys, everything is just stacking up in their favor. They know they only have to win a couple of games to get to the Super Bowl. And I don't think they're going to squander this away. And like you mentioned, they go out and draft a freaking quarterback of all the positions they could have brought in to help him. And Aaron Rodgers, man, this guy, look at the commercials, man. This guy's throwing rocks. The dog don't even want to run 10,000 yards to go chase the rocks and stuff. He's hitting golf balls. They're still in the air. They won't even fall out the air, man. This guy's he's just having one of those years, man. It seems like this guy never gets old. He's just having a great year. And what's more importantly, he deserves it, man. He's a great guy. He just does. Aaron Rodgers is just a great guy. And when you think about how Brett Favre treated this guy when he was his backup, man, he just goes in there and does his job, and you don't hear anything negative about this guy at all. And at his age, he's still putting up crazy numbers. He's working with a new coach in the second year now. There's no way I could pick the Rams to win this game. Not saying that the Rams is a bad team. Now, the over under there 45. I don't know if it's gonna. I would take the under there. Stealing a page from Mr. Pick's book, but I don't know. And I would say, what do you take with the points there, Dustin?
I would probably say under. I would probably say it's I mean, obviously that's how good Vegas is, but it's gonna be close to that number. I could see a game where that Rams defense, kind of throws some stuff at them early that maybe makes them hang around for the first half. But then, like you said, Aaron and LaFleur, they make some adjustments and they're able to, pull away in the second half and win by 10 points, and you see something like I don't know, 27-17 score or something like that. Because I just don't think the Rams have a very good run game. That running back Cam Akers from Florida State has really turned it into a good back.
Yeah, that's
and so
true.
that could be a key. That could be a key for them if they get the run game going and keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. But I just don't think if the Packers get up and get a lead and then you have to use Goff, I'm not trying to sound down on the guy. I'm just not a believer in Goff. And when you throw in a thumb injury on top of it, then I just don't see how they're going to score enough points to keep up, because I think McVay makes Goff look better than he is, and then you still have those times where Goff has those games and throws some interceptions. So I just don't think they have enough to keep up with Green Bay.
I agree. I agree with you on that. So, and that brings us to the second game, and this is the nightcap on Saturday night. It's the Baltimore Ravens at the Buffalo Bills. And you know what? I tell you what, I went walking earlier, and I was trying to gather my thoughts. And of course, when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, I'm sticking with the narrative of the revenge tour. But when I look at the Buffalo Bills, I just think, hey, granted, this Baltimore Ravens team has been kind of peaking over the last couple of years. If it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh could have been fired. But something tells me like John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin are somewhat connected, because I don't think neither organization wants to fire those guys because they're so connected there. No organization wants the other one to have an edge, because I think they came in about the same time, and it's like, okay,
yeah, they did.
You see what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, well, we all know Lamar Jackson, saved Harbaugh's job. And I think, and just seeing how they have worked together and capitalized on his talents on the field. Whereas when I look at the Buffalo Bills, I mean, they just really kind of put the last couple of pieces of their puzzle together this year. Bringing in Stephon Diggs and picking up some draft picks there with some of the rookies that they got, and of course, the big piece there with Allen. I don't know if they're quite ready yet. I mean, they haven't really been through the trenches with this team as like Baltimore has with their team, and that's why I'm thinking this Ravens team, man, they just destined to just kind of get over the edge. I mean, they have a checklist, and they're checking it off now. I don't think they foreseeing the Bills and Browns on that list, but they certainly had Tennessee and Kansas City on this list. And I think, they are on a mission to get, to the Super Bowl. Not to mention they had to come out of a tough AFC North division. But I just think this team is playoff ready. I think they are talented, they're experienced, and besides Lamar Jackson running the ball, Dustin, I mean they still have some pretty good running backs that they can give the ball to.
Yeah, no, they do. And I pause for a second because this is how close that I think this game is, Gene. And I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and I'm trying to think in my head who I want to pick. That, like I'm so that on the fence about it, and I'm going back and forth, because if you told me a week ago going into the playoffs, I was pretty high on the Buffalo Bills, thinking that they were the only team in the AFC that could really give the Kansas City Chiefs a game and kind of compete, because they have a good defense, because they have a guy who's got a cannon for an arm and can use his legs and things like that. So I was very high on them. And then Baltimore Ravens, they come out and they do what they do. And I think to myself, like you said, it's a revenge tour, and that defense is playing well, and Lamar's on a mission. And so I'm like, man, I think that like I said earlier, that kind of win for the Ravens can propel them to a run. And so I was going towards the Ravens, but now I'm going to take it back center. I'm not going to have recency bias, and I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. I think it's going to be a one-score game, last possession type game, but I just think that the Bills have a more complete team. I think they have, a quarterback who can run, who can throw.
He can run.
They have a weapon like Stephon Diggs, who is, probably better than any weapon that Lamar Jackson has on as a receiver on offense. And I just think that their defense is going to be better because, let's be real, the Titans defense wasn't that great this season. So I think the Bills defense will be better to contain Lamar and then make him have to make some more throws. And I just don't know if he can make enough throws to keep up and win the game. So it's going to be a field goal game, but I'm going to go with the Bills to get to the AFC Championship game.
Interesting, because when you look at quarterbacks with the most passing yards in 2020, Josh Allen is right up there. He's up there with Deshaun Watson, Mahomes, Brady, Matt Ryan, and he's the next guy. So that says a whole lot, and because of that, I mean, that's why he has his team in the divisional rounds of the playoffs. And when you look at the other side of that, as far as rushing yards, quarterbacks with over 1,000, rushing yards in NFL history, then you have Lamar Jackson who leads the pack there. But it's yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, when you look at the talent on both of these teams, it's equal. I mean, for the things that Lamar Jackson probably lacks, than Josh Allen has. And when we look at the running backs, with Singletary, and then I do believe the Buffalo Bills are going to be without Moss, though. Now that's going to limit them a little bit. I mean, that's the latest word I have. I don't know, that could change come uh, tomorrow night. But as far as I know right now, he's not playing. That could be wrong now. So
Yeah, I don't think he was playing, but so that'll be interesting to see. But the other thing too, you have to look at, kind of like we said with Green Bay, is that weather in Buffalo. And as Lamar, I know he plays in Baltimore, but he hasn't really played in bad cold weather games, and I think there
yeah.
was a chance of snow, so that'll be interesting as well.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting. And then, if you're Buffalo, you're looking at the film and you're looking at how much he ran the ball versus passing against Tennessee. And, what is that Buffalo, defense going to be able to do to prepare for that, to limit him if you force him to pass. And if we know from looking at the games that he played against the Steelers, the one game he played against Pittsburgh earlier in the year, where he coughed the ball up a lot. So if you're forcing him, if you can stop his run and force him to pass, you might have something there, with because he'll try to get it to Snead or Andrews or Marquise Brown. So if you can, try to limit those, then you might have some. But it's going to be a good game, though. And I see what you're saying. That last possession, it could come down to that. And then, but when it comes to Marlon Humphreys and those guys, Marcus Peters, they're gonna have their hands full when it comes to Stephon Diggs, because Stephon Diggs has had his way all year with everybody's defense. And I mean, this guy has just been all over the field and catching. I mean, he catches everything, Dustin.
Oh man, it's unreal the year that he's had, and I mean we knew he was good in Minnesota, but now he just came here with Josh Allen, and he's taking it to another level. So when you have a guy like him, you have a fly guy like Cole Beasley. I mean they have some weapons to throw to, and like you said, I just like, as much as we talk about Lamar Jackson's legs, I just like Josh Allen and his mobility, not just only to run, but to be able to get out of the pocket from that Ravens defense and make some throws. And so I mean, I'm glad this game's in prime time. I think it's probably the best or the second best game behind the Bucs and Saints this weekend. And it is just going to be, it's going to be a knockdown, drag out fight. These are two physical teams. So it's going to be who can make that extra play or two. And I'm not saying Lamar can't do it, because we've seen him do some stuff. But I just like the way Josh Allen's trending. And I'm like you, maybe they're a year away, but the way they've been playing, I'm going to pick them to win a close one.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the Ravens on this one, and I think the favorite right now is the Buffalo Bills by 3, according to the information I'm looking at. Is that correct?
That's correct. They gave them those 3 points for the home field advantage, so they see it as a pretty close game.
All right, then that takes us to the Sunday divisional rounds, and let's start with the Cleveland Browns at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, the number 1 seed in the AFC, they have been sitting around watching plenty of football, and I'm sure they are shocked as anyone else that It is the Cleveland Browns coming to town. They are, oh my goodness, Andy Reid, and Andy Reid is probably one of the most dangerous coaches that when it comes to preparing for our teams. Now, I don't know who. I think maybe he would have been if the Steelers had won. I don't know. Maybe it would have been Buffalo. I don't know who would have been going to Kansas City had Pittsburgh won that game. But never. The less it's the Chiefs that are coming to town, so I'm sure he's going to have something dialed up for KC. But this is a case of we've been sitting around waiting versus okay one of the hottest teams right now in the playoffs, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. So this is going to be interesting to see if the Browns can continue that momentum going into Arrowhead or the Chiefs are just going to continue, just pretty much like the Packers, you know, full steam ahead. And hey, we got one mission, and that's to repeat as Super Bowl champions. What do you think, Dustin?
Yeah, they're definitely on a mission, and I think, like you said, sometimes the bye can make you a little sluggish when you come out to start. But with them having this experience and Andy Reid being known for having a good game plan coming off bye, I think he'll have his team ready to play. But I gotta say, Gene, I want to pull the trigger on this upset so bad. I want to do it. I just think, and people are gonna think I sound crazy, but I just think the Browns, they have all that good momentum, all that good luck, all that stuff is on their side right now. If you go through what they went through last week and you have that kind of luck where the first snap of the game goes over the Steelers' heads and it's a touchdown and it just steamrolls downhill like that, that shows that you're not only playing well, but you've also got the momentum and luck on your side. And I just think that they are riding high. They have nothing to lose. They are a Cleveland, like you said. When all you got to say is Cleveland Browns if you want to make jokes. They've already won a playoff game. They've already made the playoffs. They've already well exceeded what anybody thought. And so I think they have nothing to lose. I think they have some pass rushers like Myles Garrett that can get after them. And I also think that Kansas City's defense is not that great, and I think that they'll be able to make some plays in the run game and in the passing game with play action. I mean, when you have a tandem backfield like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt,
Right.
and an offensive line that they have, I mean, you're going to be in ball games because those are two dynamic running backs. And if they can use that run game with Chubb and Kareem Hunt and manage the field and have long drives because they're not really a quick strike offense. They move the ball. If they can move that and keep Mahomes off the field, I think they're going to be right there. So I can't remember what the spread is, but I would take the spread and I will take the Browns to hang close. I think they're going to be within one score going to the fourth quarter. And then I think Mahomes is just going to be Mahomes to pull his team out of it and make a play to put them over the top. So as much as I want to pull the trigger on it, I'm going to go Kansas City, but I want people to know that this game, I think, is going to be a lot closer than people think.
It's a 9.5 spread, KC, and I would definitely take the points in Cleveland. I agree with you because the Browns do have everything that Kansas City have. Now, I mean, especially when you look at a run attack there, and I think the defense for Cleveland might be better than the defense for the Chiefs, especially when you add in the Myles Garrett factor there. So I mean, you have to look at that aspect now. I mean, now when you look at Tyrann Mathieu, now that the safety aspect for KC is there, the defense is a little bit better. I mean, it has improved in KC from their first Super Bowl run, but I tell you what. I mean, you're right. They have nothing to lose, and the momentum just keeps going. Now we have seen wild card teams make it to the Super Bowl and win it, and this is what you have. Not only do you have a wild card team, you have a wild team. And these Cleveland Browns. I mean, they're a dangerous team there, and I can see if you get that Chiefs team that came out in that Super Bowl in that first half very sluggish, this Cleveland Browns team would just blow them out the water. And you do have
Yeah, and not even the Super Bowl. Look at the game where they were down big to the Texans. I mean, the Chiefs had a couple of playoff games last year where they were down. And don't forget, the Browns are getting their head coach back. And I think I heard this morning that they're going to have all of their players that they missed last week back off the COVID. So they're going to be fully healthy.
So they're going to be, so it's going to be interesting, and it would be the upset of the playoffs. And good Lord, who knows who's going to end up in Tampa? If this upset is pulled off. But no, I tell you what, the Browns are a dangerous team right now, and I tell you what, hey, every year it seems like one of these number one seeds go down now because there's only two. It's highly unlikely that both number one seeds lose this weekend, but especially in the division rounds. But it could happen. And the Chiefs, tell you what, they've been sitting around waiting there, and the it seems like the Packers are in a more favorable position to win than the Chiefs this weekend because the Rams just don't have that kind of firepower or momentum that the Browns have. So that's interesting. So anyway, so I think we both are going to go with the Chiefs, but it seems like you wanting to pull that trigger, right?
I wanted to, but
Hey
I'm
man,
gonna hold off.
I think I can. Hey, you know what? You're probably going to be wearing your Chiefs gear. I mean your Browns gear, but you're not gonna. You don't want to say it on the air, huh?
No, yeah, I'm not going to pull the trigger. As much as I love watching Mahomes and the Chiefs play, and I do think I've said this from the start. I think a Mahomes Rodgers Super Bowl could be out of this world fun.
Yeah,
I just love stories like the Browns, and
yeah.
I just think it would be a great story. And so yeah, I hope they do well, and I kind of do hope they pull the upset.
Well, hey, it can't be better than the story that we're about to talk about, man. We're getting ready to talk about the AARP Bowl. I mean, this is the bowl, man. This is the Goat Bowl, the retirement bowl, whatever you want to call this, man. This is like, I mean, if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers, and KC trying to do what they're trying to do, I would be satisfied with the season ending with just this game and these two guys right here, man. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints playing in the nightcap for in the other division around game over in the NFC. Not to mention it's an NFC South rematch, right? The third time these two teams are going to play each other. Dustin, I'll let you start off, man. What break it down?
Well, first let me start off by saying, being like you said, we're reporters and we cover teams, and being here in Charlotte and covering the Panthers, and being a person born and raised in Charlotte, I'm obviously a Panthers fan. I just kind of hope that maybe the power goes out in the Superdome and they can't play the game because I really kind of wish both teams would lose. I mean, I really do not like the Saints. They've dominated the division for the last 2 years. I'm tired of watching Drew Brees for the last 20 years of my football existence, and now they want to bring another guy in Tom Brady this year. So it's complete misery for me. But what I will say is, you're right. This is the third time that they played. The Saints, the won both times, and the last time in Tampa, they completely
Oh my goodness!
dominated
Yeah,
the
they
Tampa Bay
did.
Bucks. I mean, they just tore them apart.
Yeah, they did.
And so the old saying, Gene, how hard is it for a team to beat a team 3 times in one season, and things like that. But another close one, another one where I think it's going to come into the late fourth quarter, and you're going to have both of these Hall of Fame great QBs who can make a play late. And I'll tell you what, maybe this is just a bias on a little bit of me not liking the Saints, but I'm going to take Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. And the reason I say that is the Saints might have a more complete defense. They may have a more complete team. But when it comes playoff time, I'm going to put my money on Tom Brady. And you can look at the Saints the past couple of years and look at the heartbreak where they've had these teams that have been number one and number two seeds. And people have went in there and they've upset them and something crazy's happened and they've lost the game. And now you add in this year, no fans in the Superdome. I think that's huge. And so I just think that the Bucs are kind of hitting their stride. They finally are kind of figuring out the way Tom Brady wants to play, where they kind of run the ball a little more and use the play action more. Antonio Brown is becoming more of a weapon.
Yeah.
Mike Evans is getting healthier from being injured 2 weeks ago. And so I can't go against Tom Brady in the playoffs. I think they're going to find a way to get it done.
Well, I tell you what. Now, I think they might have limited fans. Last week, I did see some fans, not many, but some there in that Chicago game last week. But 3-point favorite, the Saints are right now in this game, and I know we've heard that saying it's tough to beat a team three times, and oh my goodness, the Saints got history. The Saints have been knocking and knocking and knocking, and that window of opportunity. I didn't think it would be there for the Saints after what happened, with the Minnesota game, after what happened, the referees taking games away, and what happened with the
Yeah,
Rams. I didn't think that the window would still be there, with Breeze getting older, and everything. And then, after everything that the Saints have been through, and now then you get Tom Brady. Tom Brady decides to come over to the NFC, and not only the NFC, he decides to come over to the NFC South. So, I mean, the Saints have had so many obstacles in their way, you know, Minnesota, the referees, now Tom Brady. So it's like, man, what do they have to do to get back to the Super Bowl? And I don't know. Something tells me they're gonna get through because if they don't, man, I mean, folks know what's gonna happen. The Super Bowl is in Tampa Bay, and no one
yeah,
wants
for
Tom Brady
sure.
to be playing the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. I mean, no one wants to see that. I mean, it's almost like how did he pick Tampa Bay in the first place? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and,
like
and let's mention that's never happened
it's
before.
never happened. So it's
Hosting
like
a Super Bowl's never been there.
who's in control of this crystal ball, this NFL crystal ball? Who's in control of it? Because no one could have
Yeah,
predicted none of this. And the Saints are going up against all of these obstacles there, and nevertheless, though, you got two of the greatest quarterbacks to have ever played the game. I don't know. Have you seen that meme of Brady and Breeze with the gray beards and everything, man?
yes,
It
yes.
is
I
the
laughed so
most
hard at that.
craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean, they
Yeah,
look like
and
Moses
let's
and
not forget to mention all of the talk that I've heard around the league, and maybe you heard stuff too. Is that I mean, I know these quarterbacks kind of talk about this every year when they get this old, but this kind of sounds like this might be it for Drew Brees. I mean, you look at the rib injuries he's had this year; he's
yeah,
only kind of getting beaten up more and more. And even though he's still doing it at a high level, you could see the drop off the last couple of years with him a little bit more so than an older guy like Tom Brady.
yeah,
But
yeah.
he's got the weapons to continue to let him play well. So this could be it. So like you said, that window you didn't think it was going to be there. Well, it's here, and this actually could be it. So
Yeah, I
it'll
think
be interesting to see how they play that.
this is why, for me personally, I don't care about the rest of the games this week because this is the best. This is like
It
the
is.
Super Bowl. I mean, it just don't get any better than this. And I'll talk about Tampa here in a minute. But I mean, I just think either Sean Payton, you got great coaches here, man. And Bruce Arians, I love this guy. He's one of the coolest coaches out there. I mean, you just got this is just incredible stuff here. I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win this game. I just don't because it would put them that much closer to the freaking Super Bowl. Now certainly you could say, well, Mean Gene, there's still a lot of games to play. That means Tom Brady has to take those. If they do win this game, he's got to take those old bones to Green Bay, right? and
Yeah.
that's considering the Rams don't beat Green Bay, which I don't think they will. But so it's not that easy yet. We can't put Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay just yet. But I mean, I just think the Saints, man, Drew Brees deserves this, man. They have just really been knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking. Sooner or later, they're gonna have to kick that door down. You got Alvin Kamara, I think, and he's supposed to play, right? Is he?
Yeah, yeah. I think everybody's good to go for that.
Okay, so everybody should be good to go now. And man, if you got the Saints on all cylinders, I mean, I just don't know how you can stop them. But both of these teams are so freaking talented. You would probably not see, the two teams with so much talent on the field at one time ever. I mean, you got
Agreed.
Mike Evans, Fournette, and Godwin, Brown, and Sanders, and Thomas, and
Gronk.
man, but you just got man. This is almost like a
Yeah.
mini Pro Bowl of talent on the field here, defense and offense. And then you
Yeah,
got
it's pretty incredible. It's
it
pretty
is.
incredible, and one thing that I would mention is the biggest key for Tampa because I watched those first two games. is the biggest key, and this is for a lot of teams, but especially for Tom Brady and Tampa Bay, is protecting Tom Brady, because the Saints have got so much pressure on him in the first two games and got him off the spot. But if they can do like they have the past couple weeks and protect Tom Brady, even in that Washington game, they protect him against a good defensive line, and he can make time to make throws. That's what I think will be the difference in putting the Bucs over the top.
I mean, and look at this. You get the most passing yards versus the most passing touchdowns. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is like the ultimate challenge here. This is the crazy game. But having said all that, I'm going with the Saints. I just think they do the unpredictable, the unimaginable, and you know what word I'm trying to say here.
I do.
They beat the Saints. I mean, they beat the Bucs for the third time in a row. They beat them.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see, because we know about that third time in a row, because I don't want to do this to you, Gene. The Steelers beat the Browns twice in the regular season.
We're not talking about the Steelers anymore.
I just want to throw that out there. But here's what I'll say about the Saints. I know you said that the Saints deserve this. They had the Stephon Diggs Hail Mary. They had the blown pass interference. They had the blown pass interference call. And let me just tell you that those two plays were probably two of the highlights of my football season both times last year. So I'm hoping for a third year in a row. It comes down to the last drive, and somehow the Saints they lose on a lucky tip touchdown play. They lose on a bad call. I want to see it happen for a third year.
Oh my God!
And Drew Brees, as great a guy as he is, I respect him. He does a lot of stuff for the community. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He can finally ride off into the sunset and leave my division, and we can move on.
Oh my goodness!
There's my fandom coming out.
Hey! It happens to the best of us, man. I tell you, it's gonna be a great game, man. It's gonna be a perfect way to end the weekend, going into the holiday weekend, man. It's gonna be great. Hey, Dustin, man, it's always fun, man. I don't know if we've had a lot of fun doing this one here, man, because we know we're getting that much closer to the big finale here, man. And I can't wait to get back next weekend. I hope you're free next weekend, man, so we can kind of get championship weekend. We'll be one step closer to Super Bowl 55, brother.
Absolutely. I'll be available. We'll break it down. We'll see how dumb we sound in the picks, or how smart we sound, and then we'll break down these AFC Championship games. Because like you said, we don't know what's going to happen, but could you imagine if some games do go the way they go? You talked about the quarterback matchup this week with Brady and Brees. Well, next week, if the Packers win and then whoever wins that Bucs Saints game, you could have Rodgers versus Brady, Rodgers versus Brees. On the other side, you could have Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. You could have Mahomes versus Josh Allen. You throw Baker Mayfield on there. There's so many options. I mean, it is going to get really good this weekend, and only going to keep getting better as they make that track to Tampa.
Yeah, the NFC is just going to be. You're going to have a premier Super Bowl. I mean, a premier quarterback from the NFC, and at least in one of the games, The AFC is going to be interesting too. You could have a set of first timers. I mean, it's going to be interesting. That's why they play the game. So, hey, Dustin, man, you kick back and relax, and part of me is going to be laughing watching the Saints because I'm going to be thinking about what you said there. But it's going to be interesting. Hey, we'll see you next week, man, folks. I hope you enjoy your weekend. We'll come back and do it again. You have been listening to the MeanGene Show right here on iHeartRadio.